It's time once again for your favorite pro wrestling opinion show, Jags Jabs. I am Jefferson Alonzo Greene, and today I am not alone. If you remember, the old school OG homie OC Steve is in the house for what he calls the tag team jab, or a tag jab, if you will. Steve, how you feeling, buddy?
I'm doing good. Appreciate the invite back onto the program once again.
What do you mean invite? This was your idea. First,
I know, but hey, it takes two to tango. So it's like, I threw it out there, it kind of stuck to the wall. You looked at it for a minute, went, okay, there's something that can be made out of this. So let's give it a shot versus just doing like anti-air guns and just shooting this thing down and just like sticking with it. So
well, first you said, for the people who aren't familiar with the Jags Jab show, which they should be, but if they're not, first you said you should challenge people to come on the show and debate them and battle them, right? And I was like, and I put out the open challenge, and nobody officially responded, but Cody unofficially responded. We'll get to that in a minute. And then I thought, okay, well, if nobody's gonna fight me on this, maybe we can just share some thoughts and some ideas. And one thing I wanted to talk about, and maybe this is our first point, because this is not planned. We're just kind of going off the dome. This is the freestyle jab.
I think everybody has domes on the mind right now, between domes and bubbles and any false sense of security that you can get that creates with this like Simpsons, like EPA kind of contained snow globe.
Yeah, dude. But the first thing I wanted to say, the first thing I wanted to make clear, I blame you. I blame you. I blame you. I blame you for everything I've ever said on this channel, because it's your fault and the crap you had on your desk that made me even start watching wrestling again in the first place. Will you please explain to the people, because they think I hate AEW, okay? And I don't hate AEW, but AEW, I've said this before, is the reason why I came back to wrestling in the first place. For the people who don't know, will you please tell them how you convinced me to watch wrestling again right before, what was it, All Out or Double or Nothing in Vegas? Because I got hired in May and you were going to the show like a week later. So just tell the people the story, please.
Yeah, we were both working at a place here in Orange County, Southern California. And, on Fridays, they kind of just let the, dress attire lax a little bit. And so I started doing the whole pro wrestling crate. And so they just send you a litany of t-shirts from different parts of the wrestling world once a month that they cultivate and they send to you in a crate, and it kind of has a theme. So obviously the big theme at that time was Double or Nothing. So it was like, here's your AEW Foundation thing right here, right out the gate, so we can have some merch. And I was wearing the AEW shirt, and you were going through orientation at the time at this place, and then you noticed the shirt, and you're like, oh, hey, that's cool. Like, wrestling, right? AEW, that's that new thing. And then we just, ball kind of just went from there. It just started rolling into this massive snowball. We would meet each other by the water cooler. We would talk a little bit about wrestling versus what you knew versus what I knew versus, you were kind of one of those lapsed fans at the time where it was old school WWE.
You damn right.
I don't know what to watch. And I was like, well, there's this and there's all this other stuff that because my own eyes were slowly being opened at the time. I mean, I was going to a couple occasional Ring of Honor shows that were out in Vegas, because that's as far as Ring of Honor goes. They kind of just hit Vegas and they don't go any further to the West Coast, but they'll go to the Pacific Northwest for some odd reason.
But hold on. Because even before you were wearing AEW shirts, even before you went to the show, I noticed you had a bunch of stuff on your desk. You had Funko Pops and you had some wrestling stuff on your desk. And I remember asking you, who is that guy? And you told me, I just dropped my charger. You told me was it the Young Bucks? You had a Funko Pop or something of the Young Bucks?
Yeah, they were the first independent guys that kind of broke that ground where they got Funko and they made that whole deal. That was part of their little super multi-pack between them cutting a deal with Hot Topic, and that kind of led to the Funkos, and then they started getting more brand licensing as they went. So they got the Funkos, and I'll honestly admit, to a fault, I at the time, even until the age of reason that transpired as of recently with AEW, I was the elite supermark. I got I got to come out and be open and transparent with it.
Thank you, because you had a lot of Young Bucks and Elite merchandise, okay? You had, because they're Bullet Club related, and you're a huge Bullet Club mark. People, if you're watching this and you want to, because of course, Encyclopedia and I have put out more than 300 freaking daily episodes of this show, you're gonna have to go digging through the crates. Go back to like, I don't know, a year ago, last year, August, and you'll see some stuff with me and OC Steve before he quit the show, and that's a whole nother story. And he was showing me, make me a fan of Kenny Omega, make me a fan of the Young Bucks. And then we went to a Ring of Honor show, and it was all this Bullet Club stuff. And we interviewed another Bullet Club fan. There was so much Bullet Club, Ring of Honor, Elite fandom coming from you, OC Steve. So much. And I can't believe that you, I don't know, I have now turned away from the Elite, that you've turned your back on the Bucks that you love so much. Is that a fair statement?
Kind of. I mean, I went into it, and I know that as of late, respectively with your jabs and me leaning back towards more New Japan coverage on my own channel and covering that content, a lot of people are like, oh, they want to write you off instantaneously as an AEW hater, or you're just literally copying and pasting what Jim Cornette says, so it's easy to write you off if you have a criticism of what you're watching on Wednesday, night Dynamite, Saturday Dynamite, Thursday Dynamite, depending on TNT's playoff schedule, Dynamite, and then their pay-per-views on the Fight Network. But I went with it with the highest promise. I was one of the fans that was like literally like the Deadheads, like back in the day with the Grateful Dead. I would follow them to a fault.
Dude, I was literally looking for crowd pictures to do a jab, and there was a picture of you at Double or Nothing. You and your wife at Double or Nothing were like not front row,
ringside.
But second row. Were you front row? Okay.
I was front
row at freaking Double or Nothing, and I was like, well, I can't use this because then Steve's gonna think I'm talking trash, because I was talking about AEW fans and how stupid they are, and then there was you, so I couldn't use that picture. But you were front and center for this stuff, dude. You were a super AEW fan in the beginning, which I think you still are a fan, or maybe you don't hate them, but you're disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, I went in with it with the best intentions. The whole buy a ticket, take a ride does apply to AEW.
Yeah.
And what they were promising being an alternative, and they were going to be sports-based, and they were going to do all this stuff, and wins were going to matter, and they were going to have a strong tag team division, and they were going to have a strong women's division for that matter. Those are great promises, but over the course of time, and we're almost hitting a year because we're barely near October now, even with everything that's gone on in this year. It seems like every month is almost a year in itself in 2020, but it's just not delivered.
Yeah.
Cody's a great salesman. He can get people to buy merch. He can get people to buy gear. And I did. I fell for it. I got no problem admitting it. But my thing is I genuinely wanted an opportunity for a program outside of the WWE to be a spotlight, to be able to show talent that normally wouldn't get those opportunities that don't fit in the cookie cutter mold that Vince McMahon has created for almost a quarter of a century now, or half a century.
Yep.
So, but the problem is it's just, they played nepotism. It's just all the guys that you would want to see are sometimes left on dark, and if they can't find a way to get them over in their own way, or incorporate them into a storyline where they get to also be a part of it, so they get to go along with the ride with their friends, like case in point, Dark Order, or Cody having friends too. It's like, you got to be able to take yourself out of that narrative and realize you're businessmen, you're executive producers, and these guys need to be able to have the spotlight on them aside from you, and not to bust your ego bubble. But you came into this thinking you were the cool kids on the block, and that you were going to go on TNT and everybody was going to know who the hell you were.
Yep.
And that's not the case.
That's one of the things we talked about on one of the first episodes, is like, I don't know who any of these people are. And I was hoping and expecting that AEW would introduce them to me. Maybe just show me a 2-minute vignette. Show me a package of their highlights in the indies or whatever, and help me, like, okay, even if you just did a tail of the tape, this guy is Lance Archer and he's got this great move and he does this thing and he's so amazing. And you're like, oh snap, okay, now I want to see this guy. But instead it was like, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You guys know this guy. Or like, what's the guy that just came out? Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona. And we're like, who
Matt
the
Cardona,
hell?
yeah.
I don't know him as Matt Cardona, and I didn't even care about him as Zack Ryder. Now, is that a mean thing to say? Maybe. but he wasn't a top tier talent at WWE, in my opinion. I'm not saying he's not talented, but he wasn't pushed like a Jon Moxley. He wasn't pushed like Roman Reigns, or, you know, name some big time dude. So to come in, or Jericho, another one, to come in and say, Matt Cardona, just the fact that you once graced WWE television is not enough to merit a push and to merit interest from AEW, right? Or at least in my opinion. AEW seems to think so, but I don't care. And you know, I wanted to kind of touch on that a little bit, because people say, oh, you just hate AEW. You just hate AEW. And back when I first started doing jabs, they're like, well, you just need to watch this and Shikara and da-da-da. And I'm like, I shouldn't have to do homework to understand your show. I shouldn't have to do homework to appreciate
that's
the product.
thing even now is like, okay, you know, you come from the world of other pop culture stuff too, like as well as do I. Like,
sure, yeah.
You know, the best comic book companies are the ones that you can pick up a story and get everything self-contained, and I don't need to go back and buy 30 back issues or graphic novels or something to get up to speed on what's going on right here, right now.
Exactly.
So
here's a timely example.
Came
Batman
full
right?
around.
Yeah, dude, the new Batman trailer comes out. I don't have to wonder who the hell Batman is. And when I see a Commissioner Gordon, who's played by this, Jeffrey Bright, who's actually a black guy, I guess, I think. And I'm
the dude from Westworld.
Yeah, but I'm not like, oh my gosh, I wonder who he's playing. He's freaking Commissioner Gordon. And we know this. And then there's something about a riddle. And we're like, oh, I know exactly what's going on here. I might not know this version of the Riddler. There might be a twist or whatever, but I don't need to do my homework to understand what the hell's going on. That is a wonderful analogy. That is a prime example of a way that a new fan can jump on board, understand what's going on, and go along for the ride. But see, AEW is so much of the inside wink, wink, nudge, nudge, that they expect us to give a crap because of something they did in Japan. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's not even that now. The problem is everything with AEW is so arduous that you have to watch every little piece to get the collective storyline, and you can't skip over anything. Like, even again in comic books, the big arcing storylines that would happen over a year, there's certain comic books you wouldn't need to follow, so to speak, but you could still just follow the main storyline.
Sure.
And now I got to watch Being the Elite, which is now like even steroid size. It used to be 10-minute videos. It used to be like, here's the Young Bucks, here's Kenny, here's Cody. They're going on some trip. Here's a tour of them hanging out at Ring of Honor. Now it's everybody and their friends in these like vaudevillian skits. And it used to be 10 minutes. Now it's almost 30 minutes.
And isn't there a show where they're interviewing people in the hotel room? And then there's Dark, and then there's now the women's tag team thing. And there's just so many things that we have to watch to be up to date on what's happening in AEW. And it's okay, WWE has a lot of stuff too, don't get me wrong, but I don't feel like AEW is continuing, or at least giving us one continuous story to follow. I think probably the best example of a start to finish storyline that they've done is this stupid women's tag team title champion, or women's tag team tournament.
Because it was all self-contained.
Yes, but they introduced it, they showed us what was going on, and then they finished it, and it was over. And you're like, oh, look at that, a beginning, a middle, and an end. This Cody thing, right now we just saw Brody Lee and the Dork Order beat the stuffing out of Cody and pals, right? But where did this start? Where did it begin? Because here we have this tournament leading up to the championship. Brody Lee wasn't part of that tournament, right? And then Cody beats Lance Archer, the murder hawk monster, the baddest mofo on two legs, and he wins, and then he proceeds to beat the stuffing out of Jungle, and Scorpio Sky, and Warhorse, and all these random dudes, only to lose to Brody Lee in a freaking squash match? That came out of left field.
Yeah, it was so left field that Brody Lee comes out and literally goes, I'm going to take your belt. Yeah. I have your belt. And you're going to have to wrestle me for your belt, but I'm going to put your belt down. Like, it's not even like a heel move. He didn't grab the belt and go, it's mine until you can take it back from me. Yeah. You know, like at least creating some kind of heel versus face storyline where it's like, I got your belt now. You might be champion on paper, but I have it. You know, possession is 9/10 of the law. So. Sure.
Well, Cody says there are no heels or faces, Steve. So screw you, pal.
Dude, heels. that was like back in Monty Python level with me and you exchanging stuff on Twitter, and he jumped in like the Spanish Inquisition and went, hey, I'm going to interrupt your conversation. And it's like, dude, nobody invited you.
I did tag him though. So I did tag him, but I expected him to see that and say, you know what, maybe we should have some a storyline, a thorough line, you know, because the reason why, and people who didn't see it, maybe you missed it, but the whole idea was, hey, do something with Lance Archer. Oh, Lance Archer is one of the top guys. He'll be back. Okay, in the meantime, Brody punk-ass Lee shows up and beats the stuffing out of you. For some reason, he beats up on Dustin, and then he brings out Anna Jay to choke out Brandy. So now they beat the crap out of everybody. Why? Because we're big and bad and scary? I don't know.
Hey, at least you know what? Improvement-wise, in comparison to the Go Home episode at the end of the year, they're landing their punches. They're not hitting the mat. When Cody was on that, I almost felt like I wanted to pull up that GIF from Tombstone, like with Doc Holliday's making fun of that one guy, and I just wanted to go, Billy, you're still here. Cody, you're still here. You may go now. We are having a conversation. Adults are trying to talk about wrestling that can actually have a level-headed conversation, because that's half the problem. I was worried about that whole entire thing going off. I was waiting for the powder keg to happen and all the crazy extreme stands just to come out and do the whole leave Cody alone instead of Brittany alone kind of thing.
And that happened, but I muted most of them, so I didn't see it. But and I expect that, because there's, like I said in the other video, there's the inner circle, and people think they're part of the inner circle, and so they want to defend them because they feel like we're attacking, or I'm attacking their friends. But the thing is, when the inmates run the asylum, when nobody's in charge, there's no clear direction. And Tony Khan, who says he's the booker, who says he's in charge, is so influenced by the Young Bucks and Cody and Kenny Omega and God knows who else, to the point where the Dork Order, which everyone hated for months and months, is somehow still a thing. And now people are excited. If you look on Twitter, people loved this Brody Lee thing, because of course the core fans are going to love whatever they do, but they liked it. And you know why they liked it, Steve? They liked it because it made sense. It made sense because now we know what to expect. Now people are going, oh my gosh, how is Cody going to answer back? The bad guy beat the stuffing out of the good guy, and the good guy's going to have to come back and get even. And if you watch this freaking show, I've been saying that for months. We need a storyline. We need a heel. We need a face. And the good guy has to get even with the bad guy. And so now people are like, oh, this was great. I'm going, you know why it was great? Because it was traditional common sense wrestling. Do you know why it was good? Because now they give you something to look forward to. They give you something to expect. They give you something to want, which is the very definition of heat. Heat is wanting something, making them want something. The bottom line is make you want something. And they finally did that, because up until now, it's just been random match of the week.
It's just, I mean, finally, you know, I just think it's funny that Cody finally got outed for almost close to 6 weeks now, or close to that he's been undefeated with this, like, I challenge anybody to come out. Here comes certain person that has a contract in the wind. They put me over really well, and then boom, they get a contract like Ricky Starks.
Yeah.
You know, like he gets a contract. The only guy that didn't get the contract in the Cody lottery was Warhorse, but that guy looked like he got blown out within the first 5 minutes, and that dude needs to work on his cardio.
I think Warhorse is pretty damn talented. We just did Make Me a Fan of Warhorse like a week ago, and I liked some of his matches. That match he had with Matthew Justice was fan-freaking-tastic. So I'm not going to crap on Warhorse. I didn't see the Cody match, so maybe the nerves got to him, maybe the bright lights in the big city got to him, and he
just looked like he got winded real quick, like literally, like.
I believe it. I mean, it's probably just nerves, but whatever it is. I mean, Eddie Kingston got a contract, right? And then you got Ricky Starks got a contract. It's the Cody lottery, and we said something about that. And then, of course, he's like, oh, it's just winner. Somebody's going to win. Somebody's going to lose. And then he gets the worst part about it, Steve, is that he knew, because I think this is pre-recorded, he knew that he was about to get the stuffing kicked out of him by Brody Lee when we were saying this. And
oh, yeah, like, that whole Saturday, yesterday's AEW was almost filmed a week ago. That's why everybody knew, like, Eric Rowan was going to show up and all these other people were going to make their debuts. So it's already been done. It was in the can.
Yes, and so as he's describing, there's no heels or faces, but there's got to be winners and losers because we're sports based. I'm like, bro. Then when I see this, I'm like, this is a heel. This is a heel move. He beat you. He beat your wife. He beat your brother. And now the fans want to see you come back and get even. That's freaking Jim Crockett Productions. We'll
have to wait.
Yes.
All Out 2 or 3 now, technically. Whatever. Electric Boogaloo. Who cares?
I don't think he's ready for that yet. I think Cody's going to need some more time to heal up and get ready for Brody Lee. But the worst part about all this is, where the hell is Lance Archer, the Murder Hawk monster? Why couldn't they do this with Lance Archer? He literally had Jake the Snake on top of his wife. And you could have, in my opinion, had the same storyline with Lance Archer, where Lance Archer beats the stuffing out of you and takes you off on a stretcher, and now you have to climb the mountain and get back to get even with Lance Archer. Instead, it's Brody Lee. Brody Lee sucks compared to Lance Archer. Brody Lee is great value Lance Archer. Brody Lee is the Lance Archer
The
you ordered on
Kirkland brand.
Yes.
Lance Archer.
Lance Archer's 10 times better than Brody Lee. And meanwhile, Lance Archer's wrestling guys on Dark. He can beat two people at the same time on Dark, but he couldn't beat Cody. And now Brody Lee just puts Cody in the freaking hospital? And none of this makes sense. But at least we got some heat. At least now we have a storyline going forward. It's not, indie wrestler of the week. It's, oh my God, can Cody get even with Brody Lee? And that's what wrestling is. It's a storyline where you believe that there's a conflict and you want to see the conflict get resolved. It's not just, Butcher and the Blade and Lucha Brothers versus the Elite for some reason. Why are we having these matches? None of this makes sense.
And now Eddie Kingston's kind of like their manager, because I think a lot of it has to deal with they were waiting to see who could come back that's internationally landlocked right now. And they went, okay, well, we're not getting Pac back anytime soon. So we got to figure some stuff out real quick and try to shuffle some feet and do some stuff. It looked like it was very knee-jerk in comparison to a lot of other promotions that are figuring out and being creative rather than just responding out of necessity. Like you look at New Japan and what they've done, and they've made a full Bullet Club now that's not even Gaijin in Japan. It is full Japanese Bullet Club.
Nice.
The first time. It's set a precedent in itself. They did a heel turn in a faction, and now Evil, the guy who is kind of like, the Japanese Undertaker, and LIJ is now the new double champ and the leader of Bullet Club moving forward until they can kind of merge back together. So that was created out of, opportunity, there was opportunities. They were going to move him anyway. This was going to be something that they've planned in a year in advance, because it's that kind of like slow cooker mentality that they have in New Japan, rather than just boom, 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 fireworks. We're going to build somebody up and we're going to take you on this ride with them. And then you're going to see a payoff, or you're going to see this ultimate betrayal that would never be coming out of nowhere versus somebody just, hitting somebody with a chair real quick on AEW Dynamite and Tony Schiavone and, Jim Ross have to sell it real quick because they probably just got a text message from Tony Khan saying, do it.
Yeah, I mean, look at it, dude. And I don't want to talk too much trash on AEW, but this is kind of like a 1 year anniversary of me watching AEW, or AEW coming around, and of course the show. I think the show's been around for a little over a year now. But I don't hate AEW. I didn't hate AEW. You got me into AEW, and all the stuff they promised, sports-based, equal women representation, wins and losses matter. None of that crap came to fruition. But there's still, I don't want to talk about Cody anymore, but you look at Moxley versus MJF. They ruined that last week too. I talked about that on a previous jab. And now we've got match number 3 between Orange Cassidy and Jericho in a vat of orange juice.
The Nickelodeon Guts Double Dare Mimosa, you can't do that on television Turbo Championship.
And so it's this whole wink, like, don't you guys know it's a work, right? Ha ha ha. So come on and watch this with us, and we're just gonna make jokes. The whole, what was that? The stadium stampede, and now it's a mimosa mayhem, and it's so much jokey
people hitting comedy. Each other with a bag of oranges, like
talking to drones. I mean, dude, it's not what they said it was going to be. But I think once they see, hopefully they see the payoff of this dork ordered thing, which the only reason why they continued is because of the Young Bucks. But now, hey, we have a storyline. Could have done this with Lance Archer, but at least we have a storyline. And this can progress. Because even the MJF freaking Moxley thing is 2 weeks old, 3 weeks old, whatever. All these feuds coming out of left field. The Jericho feud's a little bit older, but nobody wants to see this crap. So, I mean, we've been talking for a little while, and it's been mostly AEW based. So I think we'll stay on the AEW topic and wrap it up, because we're just gonna have 30 minutes of us talking trash. What do you think is gonna happen in the future? Do you think AEW is gonna get better? Do you think it's gonna continue to suck? It's gonna go on a downhill slide? We know they're not gonna take over the WWE. They don't have the production value, they don't have the budget, they don't have the experience. That's not even an option. So all that talk about putting Vince out of business is just bogus. But here we are a year into AEW. What's gonna happen in the next year? Are they gonna figure out that people like storylines? Are they gonna figure out that people like heels and faces? What do you think?
Honestly, I think the biggest test is going to be moving forward is, this fall when football comes back. Ooh. Because Tony Khan wears 2 hats. He wears the AEW hat, and obviously it's first inaugural year. He was going to be really focused on that hat, and he has a well-developed infrastructure within the Jacksonville Jaguars that he could go, you guys handle this while I make sure this gets off the ground and is flying.
Yeah, well, his dad is really in charge of the Jaguars, right? Does Tony Khan really have a big role in that?
He does have some weight in that organization. So
Okay.
the problem is we're going to see, okay, honestly, now he's going to have to balance both. Everybody knew the first year he was going to be literally all in on AEW. And now he's going to be divided between the two. So then even more so, I think the inmates are going to be running the asylum moving forward.
Do you think, I think that they would benefit from having a leader, a booker?
Yes. Yeah, that was like when I was writing articles a year ago, a lot of the stuff that I mentioned came into fruition. Like looking at it just its first few months, I wrote an article for heel turners and I mentioned, okay, they need a mid-card belt.
Mm-hmm.
They need to get some heavyweight guys. They need to have more United States women in their women's division. The Joshi wrestling with the girls that weigh 90 pounds, or the Hikaru Shida is really hard to sell to your average Midwest guy. And those are the people that they're trying to get. They got the fans already. They took the fans that they had from Ring of Honor. They took the fans that they had from all their litany of sales of pro wrestling tees. So that's their core base. And what you mentioned in a previous jab is they want to grow bigger. They need to make themselves more marketable to a wider audience in the United States. Yeah. And that means doing the simplistic stuff so people can jump on this train that's already moving.
Yeah, and I mean, look, they brought in a lot of challengers for Shida. Okay, they brought in Heather Monroe, Santino Brothers. They brought in some American talent that we like. Some people got signed, not all of them, but I think they need to do more of that. Hell, the tag team champions were Diamante and Ivelisse, whatever. I know they're popular in the Indies. I don't know them, but bring in some people. Let them work the microphone. Heather Monroe can cut a promo. They should have gave her a microphone and let her talk for a few minutes. Instead, she got a 4-minute job to Shida for whatever reason.
Even this week alone, they had Thunder Rosa wrestle.
Oh, that was
Shida.
cool.
Yeah, and that was cool. But it was like, give Thunder Rosa some time too to actually cut a promo on the mic.
She did. You saw the promo, right? You saw her promo.
But I mean, it was like, I would have liked some build up to it. I would have liked in the previous episode of AEW Dynamite have that little bonus so they give her a little more spotlight. My problem is that you need to give these opportunities, like you're mentioning, to people to have spotlights. You need to do character profiles. They need to focus on an episode. They need to go, here's Jungle Boy. This is what he's about. Here's Joey Janela. Here's what he's about. Less Marco Stunt, less Orange Cassidy, and focus on the people that could potentially be heavyweight leaders and those guys that you could value as a champion. I'm not taking anything away from Marco Stunt or Orange Cassidy, but they're not main event players. If you have a WrestleMania, hypothetically, I know I'm using a coined term, but if you're going to have a main event match, Marco Stunt and Orange Cassidy should not be in that main event match. That is not going to sell you to a national audience.
Yeah. And they're not giving those, and this is what I hope they learn, is that you have to have angles. And yes, Cody, you do have to have heels and faces, heroes and villains, whatever term you want to use. And there has to be an angle or a storyline where somebody's going to get even. Somebody gets done dirty, like Brody Lee just left him laying, and now you have to fight your way back and get even. And we get even at the pay-per-view, and that's where you have a payoff or a blow-off. That kind of a storyline. Even this thing with MJF where he got whipped and all that stupid stuff, that was an angle. That was a storyline that we could buy in and believe, because there was a clear linear trajectory to a resolution. There's no resolution and there's no trajectory. We have the will he or won't he with the freaking tag team championships with Omega and freaking Adam Page. There's all this ambiguity, as they say. Nothing makes sense. They need more linear storylines, and we can talk about Brian Cage and Lance Archer and all the talent in the back, Scorpio Sky, all these people that are underutilized, but give me a story that makes me believe. Look at Jurassic Express. You said Jungle Boy. Great idea, okay? You got, what's his name? Luchasaurus. Big, talented, popular guy. They're not using these guys. They're just throwing them in random matches that don't matter. And that's why it's, in my opinion, it's not getting over and why they're not growing. So we're a year into this thing. We're a year into AEW. The core group has not grown. In fact, they've gone down since their debut, all right? But maybe this will be a new beginning and they'll figure it out. I don't know. I guess we'll have to keep doing these State of the Union AEW videos, tag jabs, whatever. But on your channel, you're talking a lot about New Japan. And so if people have not followed you, I'm going to put a link in the description, of course. Tell them where to follow you so they can find you. And maybe Cody will talk trash on your Twitter.
I think he's trying to leave New Japan alone right now because he's kind of trying to steer clear from them. Okay. They didn't leave on the best terms when they went and created AEW, so they kind of burned their former bosses. They didn't really give them formal notice. Their notice was, we're going to be competition now for a market that you're trying to expand in. So you can get with us or you can get off, is essentially where they left them, not in the greatest of terms.
And thanks for helping us with that big show in Chicago.
Hey, thanks for helping us build our audition reel, which called All In, that helped us get Tony Khan to finance this. And, you know, we used New Japan talent to augment our matches, to have some really stellar matches. We used Ring of Honor for their production capability for the actual, you know, pay-per-view function side of it, and recorded it. So those two companies that helped build us, we kind of burned them in the process to make our business.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing everybody's like, oh, you're jaded. I'm like, no, the proof's there. The proof is there. New Japan, you can go listen to any podcast. You can listen to Tama's Island. You can go listen to anything where guys are on the inside and saw what was happening and the exchanges that happened between these two, and they didn't leave on the best of terms. Yeah. When you're ready to go to your next big dream job, you want to leave as an adult, giving them notice, being civil, because God forbid if that rug gets swept from underneath you. God forbid if AT&T, who is now the major shareholders of, you know, TNT, and respectively AOL Time Warner, which are all your bosses now, they fired the exec that helped get the AEW TV deal. Yep. So this is a very weird time for AEW, where they need to tread water and they really need to make the execs happy at this point. You know, they got to play nice. So, sure. I mean, literally, if they lose their TV deal, I don't see them being able to stay put if they went to a streaming service like New Japan World or Honor Club.
I don't think they'll lose the TV deal because they are bringing in over 500,000 viewers every week. I think they're safe, but the fans are going to keep driving us crazy. The fans are going to keep giving them a pass on everything, and I think that's one of the reasons they're not growing, because it doesn't quite make sense. And so when I post this and I tell people this sucks, or I say this isn't working, and I get all the hate, okay, I want to send some of the hate your way. So tell the people where to find you.
I was going to say that the biggest thing, kind of harkening back on the whole crystal ball idea that you're talking about, I think the biggest thing that AEW can benefit from is they need somebody as a senior advisor position. They had Eric Bischoff there, and I was like, oh my God, congratulations. TNT is going to step in, and they're going to go, hey, we need somebody to have some oversight that's an objective point of view that can look at the program from a whole, from start to finish, week to week, and go, we need to have this ride. We need to go on a roller coaster ride that has a decent ride, not these vignettes that are everywhere, that are chaotic and turbulent, and we don't understand. We're having a stellar match in the beginning. Now we're having Double Dare in the middle, and now we're having a vaudeville act in the center, and now our go-home is a decent match. So you have these two tent poles, and everything in between is kind of this weird filler. So that's my hope for AEW, is that they get an executive or somebody who's an outside opinion that can help produce the show, that's not within this brain trust where everybody's saying yes, everybody's agreeing, everybody's like, oh my God, that's a great idea, Cody. Tony, how do you feel about that? Oh, that's amazing. Hey, how do you feel about that? Oh, Young Bucks, that's awesome, that's great. I hope we can sell a shirt out of it. Right, Kenny Omega's like, leave me alone. I just want to do the women's division and highlight every little Joshi friend that I made in DDT back in the day. So that's why I don't cover it on my channel. I leave that. I kind of feel like the T-ball coach when it comes to sending you a jab.
What channel is that? What channel is that?
That is OC Steve. If you just Google it, it's not hard to find.
So YouTube/OC Steve?
There you go.
What about your social media, sir? People want to send you some hate. Where do they find you to hate?
OC Steve SDS. It's the same on Insta as it's on Twitter.
As you can tell, we can talk about this all freaking day long, but this is about 30 minutes long. And I don't know if you're still watching this. You are awesome. I think this is cool. We'll have to do this. Maybe we should do
icon.
What, a little OC Steve?
Yeah, like the old school Nintendo achievement, or Xbox achievement. You watched all 30 minutes. Congratulations.
Hell yeah. But here's the deal. If people like this, if you like this, you're watching this, if you like this and you want more of this tag team jab where we just riff and talk about what happened in AEW, maybe we'll do like a SummerSlam review, or we'll do what's the next AEW show? All Out?
It's All Out.
Maybe we'll do an all-out recap, me and OC Steve, whatever. If you like this, hit the like button down below. Of course, you got to hit that subscribe button, not just here. You got to hit the subscribe button on OC Steve as well, because he makes regular reviews and regular content. You can follow me at AKA The Jag on social media. You can follow him at OC Steve SDS on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. And I don't know if you guys want more of this, but you got to let us know in the comments. Let us know on social media. And I think that's going to do it for this episode of Jack's Jeff. We can keep talking all day, man. We'll be here all day. And I'm going to run out of freaking space on my stinking hard drive. But if people like it, we'll do it again, because this is fun. I hope you had fun, Steve. You good?
Yeah, I'm good. It's
Anything
always
you
good
want to add?
Other than that, it's always good to kind of celebrate this whole experience. And I think we should bring back the classic tagline.
Oh.
So remember,
of course.
Have a good time, enjoy wrestling, and when you're doing your super kicks,
don't forget
the leg.
Slap the leg. So crazy. All right, people, we will see you next time. And that'll do it for this episode. I'm going to just kill it right now. Don't forget to slap the leg. See you next time.